Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today leadership training module. So today is our second module. Today the topic will be under managing underperformance. The reason why we are doing this training today is because 2 weeks ago we have launched our disciplinary procedure policy. So managing underperformance is in line with that policy. Therefore, we want to reinforce our team leaders' knowledge and help you guys to understanding what is underperformance and how we can manage it. All right, so there is our session outline. First one is we're gonna discover the importance of managing underperformance. Secondly, how we can address underperformance. And lastly, we'll share some tools with our managers and support on how to manage a underperformance as well. So first of all, what is underperforming? Underperformance or poor performance can be demonstrated in a few different ways. If our employee is unsatisfied of their work performance, that is underperforming, obviously, and then a failure to perform the duties of their position or performing them the standard that is required. Sometimes, people are demotivated at work. Poor attendance and consistent lateness is a way to demonstrate underperforming as well. It's an indicator of, indicating underperforming. And, they're not compliant with the workplace policy, rules, or procedure, including safety breaches. Unacceptable behavior in the workplace and disruptive or negative behavior that is impacting on other co-workers, they are also called underperforming. All right, so reasons that people are contribute to underperforming, there could be a lot of factors. Sometimes people, they're just demotivated, they don't want to work, they're not satisfied at work, then therefore it will lead to underperforming. So managers, please keep in mind that underperformance is not the same as misconduct. So misconduct is a very serious behavior, so which need immediate address to our employee if they have a misconduct, and which could be lead to termination immediately as well. So from our first module, we've learned about how to delegate and how to provide feedback. So I just want to refresh our memory on providing feedback. So last time we shared a way in providing feedback, which is the coin feedback model. So sometimes when we're giving feedback to our employees, they might feel defensive or confused. But when we use this coin feedback model, it gives us a very constructive framework to provide a feedback to our employee. So it helps to preserve the relationship between the employee and with the manager. I personally really like this model because it just take out all the emotions away and just give all the facts to the employee how we can help them to improve. So I really like this model, and I hope all the managers are using this model to provide the feedback as well. So go to our next page. So our performance management procedure, like where is it coming from? So it works like a pyramid. At the base, we do have the Fair Work Act. So the Fair Work legislation provides a safety net of minimum entitlement. There are 8 different entitlements, so they're enable flexible working arrangement and the fairness at work. Also prevent discrimination against employees. So there's the Fair Work Commission as a base as well. So there's a procedure fairness and adhere to the obligation. The procedure fairness is concerned with the process through which the decisions are made rather than the outcome. It is required a fair and proper procedure to be used when making the decision. So this is acting as a base of our performance management. The next one is the NES. I'm sure the managers are very familiar with this. And then the next one, we do have the award. At Alltex, we are under the EBA for our production staff, and we are the Textile, Footwear and Clothing Award. There are some employees that is award free, but they do have the national employment standard as a base that protecting them as well. And then therefore we do have the Alltex employment contract for each individual employees, and then we do have the workplace policy, and therefore there is a happy employee over there. So one thing I want to bring it out to all the managers is regarding the procedure fairness. Procedure fairness is concerned with the process throughout the decisions are made rather than the outcome. We just have to ensure that the procedure is fair for all employees. It is required a fair and proper procedure to be used during the decision making. So typically there's some examples down here that is procedure fairness has not been observed. For example, not allowing our employee to bring a support person, that is not a procedure fairness. Not allowing the employee to respond of the allegation of their underperforming or misconduct, that is unfair as well. Not maintaining confidentiality, that is a big no. Like all the underperforming have to stay confidential. So this is about the procedural fairness. As we mentioned, we had the disciplinary procedure policy rolled out a couple of weeks ago. So I want to give you guys a bit more background about this policy. So sometimes managers give out a best shot to provide feedback. However, sometimes managers will have to address underperformance in a more formal matters. So therefore, we have this policy in place. It is really important for managers to have an open mind and believe that their employee can improve during this process. We have to, believe that we are helping them to perform. We are not punishing them. We are actually, believe that they can do better and help them to do better. All right. There's 4 different stages in this policy. So the first one will be a formal verbal warning, and then there'll be a written warning, then a final written warning along with a termination of the employment. So therefore, all stages, the employees and the employees manager can request the employee to bring in a support person to discuss this, but keep in mind that the support person is there to support the employee, not speak for the employee. So we have to keep that in mind and remind the support person about it as well. So I have some policy here I want to distribute to you guys. I'm sure you guys had a read already. So we will go through the steps in a bit, very shortly. Also wanted to let you guys about the role of the support person. As I mentioned earlier, the support person is to assist and support the employee that is, in the meeting and not speak for them. So they can't really speak for the employees, but they're there to support them. So there's one instance that we are having a chat with an employee about his performance issues. He brought in a support person, and that support person is his wife. And during the whole conversation, the wife is just keep speaking on behalf of him, and as a manager and as a HR, we just have to pause the meeting and remind the wife that she is there to support her husband, not to speak on behalf of him. So sometimes we will just have to make it clear and pause the meeting so she doesn't influence what he wanted to say. I would like to introduce our HR portal to all of our managers and letting you guys have a review on it. So it is something that I've built in the past 2 to 3 months. The objectives here is to allow our employee and managers to do your navigation and do your research or find any information that is HR related here by yourself. It's basically like a one-stop shop where you can find all the information here. And as a topic today is about managing underperformance, we do have a page here that all the managers can go in. So once you go into the managing underperformance, for all the managers, they can go into this page as well to see how to identify and how to manage underperformance. In there, there's a lot of material in there which you guys can have a browse. I won't go into too much details here because there's quite a lot of slides I have to go through. So the first one is to identify and assess the issues. So we need to know, understand the reason of why this employee is underperforming. So there's a few points that you can ask yourself and your employee, and to identify what is really going on, like why is he or she is underperforming. Find a root cause that is causing this underperformance. And then once you have identified these problems, I would highly recommend to write these issues down in a piece of paper, keep it to yourself, and writing the date, the matters, and what went wrong on a book or on a piece of paper. Once you have all these evidence, set up a meeting with your employees to address and identify all these problems with him or her. The purpose of this meeting is to, have an open-minded and have a two-way chat, basically, to ask him why is he or she doing so poorly. Is there something that the managers can do to help him or help her to improve? When we book in a time to meet with the employee and have a discussion, I would recommend to book in a private room, have a chat with the employee, make sure the office or the boardroom is in a quiet place, make sure that no one can hear about the conversation that you guys are going to have. So in the meeting, explain the problem, including what is the problem, why it is a problem, what is the impact of the issue, the impact of their behavior, and how is it impacting the workplace. So having this discussion, the outcome that you wish to achieve, and provide opportunity for the employee to share their point of view and listen carefully of any explanation or comments by them. Just remember, this is a two-way conversation. Make sure that it's not just a one-way street. Make sure that both sides are listening to each other and providing support to each other. So as I stated earlier, the point to remember is to talk about the issue. Remember, it's not to talk about the person. Also explore the reasons why there is an issue. Clarify the details. Have a relaxing and encouraging tone. and also summarize to check your understanding as well. So once you and the employee have the conversation, then the next step is to join in and find a solution to solve the problem. Work on some ideas by asking open questions like, what do you think, how we can help, how you can improve, and emphasize the common ground. Keep the discussion on track. If it's mainly about their performance, focus on that. If the employee put like saying it's because the other employee is doing that, that's why it's causing me to do that, I would try to pull his focus on back on track and just focus on himself of why he is making that performance instead of dragging it somewhere else. Also, focus on the positive. Remind that it is not a punishment. We have to stay positive. Make sure that your employee is on track as well. Offer assistance for your employee, for example, further training or redefining the roles where it's possible, or any flexible working practice that we can offer. Always develop a action plan to implement the solution. So this is basically a performance improvement plan, and I would recommend to set a review date within the next 3 months, and it is important to keep checking in with your employee to see how they do. Have a written record of all the conversation and keep it in your own file, or I would recommend to send it to HR, so HR can file it into their personnel file. So performance improvement plan, it is a structured and documented approach to improve the performance. So it benefits employees to give them an opportunity to consciously working on their performance and ensure that it's a close monitoring of their growth and the process. It helps assist to ensure a procedural fairness during the whole process. It also make it clear that if employees' performance doesn't improve within a time frame, there might be a risk for their employment. So this is a template of our current PIP, which you can find on our HR portal as well. There are some essential features included. For example, it clarifies which area need to be improved, what kind of training or activities we can help them to improve. It also cleared and specified that there's a tangible goal for the employees to achieve. There's a designated time frame, so there's 3 different periods for the managers to review their performance. The last one is the feedback, which is very important. The PIP is always documented, including any progress of meeting and the issues that is discussed or key by the employer. Copies should always be available for employees for them to keep the record. And then the next one is to monitor the performance. It is important the managers keep checking in on their employees' performance. So it's not just writing up this plan and then just give it to them, let them roll. No, it's not the case. We have to keep track of them and monitor them, see how they perform. As I said, keeping record is really important. Record can be very helpful in confirming the adherence with the procedural fairness. So record could be a diary note, meeting notes, emails, and formal communication and letters. So at our workplace, all this information should be kept a record in the employee personnel file, which only HR is accessible. So I will recommend you to send a copy of the record to myself so I can keep it in the employee's file. All right, formal warnings. Formal warnings are used to inform the employee that they need to improve their behavior, work performance, or attitude. Um, there's no set numbers on how many warnings that an employee must receive before their employment can be terminated. Normally, there's a 4-step of principle, which you will be able to see from your from the policy that I just distributed. So warning do not remain alive forever. So there's like a period that it triggers the warning. There's not really a specific time frame. It's a bit grey over there, but all the warnings must be always documented, whether it's verbal or documented. As I said, if you want to give a warning, always contact the HR so we can draft up a warning letter and keep track of them as well. Employee should always sign a receipt or acknowledgement on receiving the warning. If employee refuses to do so, they should still be issued with a copy and keep a record of in their personnel file. As managers, there are a lot of accountabilities for us. So there's a few ways that we can build our accountability. These are the points. For example, setting up expectation. Set an expectation for your employees to follow through so they know what they are doing at work. Invite your team members to commit on certain project or a commitment. It can give them accountability to do their work. Measure their results and then provide feedback to them. Evaluate their work. It's also giving them also building the accountability for them. So it's very important. So just want to wrap up on today's training. I want to get you guys to reflect on what you have learned today. And then the next is to identify 1 or 2 action steps that you will implement these information that you learned today immediately to improve your skills in leadership and the leadership transition. Last but not least, it's a question that I want to ask you guys is the first question that your partner should ask you next time when they see you. So next meeting in about 3 weeks time, we will be doing another training on team bonding. So I will see you guys in 3 weeks time.